Hello, I am back to discuss a specific aspect of um, intellectual action that we as African Americans need to explore. We need to gather our athletes and help them understand, especially our football player and basketball players, to avoid schools that are in states that have high percentages of police shootings, of unarmed citizens. We need to organize and understand to boycott our athletes from states that have unfair voter ID laws, that have these very unreasonable and unfair laws that involve drug testing for welfare, drug testing for unemployment benefits, and things of that nature. Now, the first one is we need to request that states establish an independent board to investigate all shootings that involve police of unarmed citizens, because a prosecutor is going to have a bias. It's those very police that feed them the people that go into the prison industrial complex. So of course it's going to have a bias to let those officers off. You need to have a people elected board that sit on that board, and all police shootings that are caught on tape or that need to be investigated are turned over to that board, and that board alone should decide, with no partisan bias or no bias of any type, the circumstances of which charge should be filed or legal action to move forward. And it needs to be legitimate, honest, and flawless in its integrity, because the way things are going now is not fair. You cannot have videotaped evidence of people getting shot 16 times and then letting someone walk out with bail. You need to be held without bail if you shot someone 16 times. Um, you need to be held accountable if you shoot someone unarmed. Doesn't mean you'll get the death penalty, but at least jail needs to be considered, and firing without pay needs to be considered. The same way you expect regular gun owners to follow laws and take extra precaution before they use their weapon, police should too, because it's just too many instances of it being black citizens. And young black athletes need to understand that from 18 to 22, that school in that certain state might value you. Or you can score their touchdowns, block for their quarterbacks, or run their football, or shoot their basketballs. But before 18 and after 22, you might very well be nothing more than target practice for their law enforcement. So you better start understanding the states of which you have high occurrences of police shootings, racist, unfair voter ID laws, unfair treatment of the poor and working class with these silly laws about drug tests. And that's because most people who are working and have to apply food stamps have already passed a drug test to keep the job they have. So why should they have to go through another one? You don't ask gun owners or gun purchasers to take drug tests. You don't ask driver's license applicants to take drug tests. Nobody asks bailout CEOs that took billions of dollars of taxpayers' money to take drug tests. So why are you asking working class people who need to feed their family to take drug tests? It's embarrassing and it's demonizing the poor, and it should only be done with a reasonable suspicion. Nothing more, nothing less. And to the people that post these Facebook posts or memes saying, if I have to work for my money and take a drug test, you're damn right you should take a drug test if you sit on your butt and get your money from the government. No. Many people on food stamps are people who have jobs, and therefore they have preemptively passed a drug test based on the fact that they have employment. And so that's why those drug tests are unreasonable, unfair, and are politically motivated. Nothing more. Because if they weren't politically motivated, you'd apply drug tests to other aspects of our society, which a drug test should be needed. I wonder if you required drug tests for people before they purchase firearms, maybe we wouldn't have all these mass shootings. If you required drug tests of people before they got a driver's license, you might not have these accidents that you have on a daily basis that not only cost innocent lives, but cost money and hold up traffic and create an unproductive chain reaction all around. All because we don't take the proper precautions to make sure the right people are on the road. But yet you are so fired up on stopping working class people trying to feed their family who go to work but still live in poverty. But yet you want them to take some drug test. And it's so random and so out of the blue. So we, as black athletes, many athletes who come from homes of working poor families, better start understanding their rights. Athletes have the potential to make the biggest change because their marketing potential is huge. They are literally diamonds in the rough, and they could be our last hope of making serious change and bringing about justice and bringing about the achievement of our rights. Young athletes attaining justice. You got to make it happen. I'll be back soon with a list of states that have the lowest levels of police violence, and I'll read that list off. And parents need to start getting with children who play sports to understand you need to look at states that have the lowest instances of police incidents involving shootings of black males, unfair voter ID laws, and unfair persecution of the poor. That's the only way to get reasonable change in our society. You can no longer appeal to the moral fiber of the enemy, and you can't use violence to defeat the enemy. That's not the way. You can only now appeal to their desires and their pocketbook to make them realize the error of their ways, and we as a people get our foot in the door of negotiation and bring about the change we need and the change we deserve as an African American people. Yes, we need an evaluation amongst our race. Yes, we need change, and I'm not afraid to say that. But we also have to look to the powers that be and say, we're willing to do our part. Now you need to do your part. And one of the last tools we have left is using our athletes, our football players, our basketball players. If suddenly a school like Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, Florida had to understand, you won't see our athletes until you pass stronger hate crime laws, laws that will hold police more responsible for their actions, get rid of unfair voter ID laws, get rid of unfair persecution of the poor, like this drug testing, things of that nature. And we better act fast. You see the local legislation in Missouri already trying to put laws stripping scholarships so that they are preemptively jumping out to preserve the agenda of the powers that be, to say we can't let wholesome grassroots change get afoot, get to rolling, stop it in its tracks, because that's what their pride tells them, like Pharaoh's pride. No, I will not hearken unto the word of the living God. That's what they're doing in Missouri. They are preemptively organizing to stop achievement, stop change, stop progression. So we have to act fast in getting the word out and preserving maybe our last tool besides economic support of certain corporations. That's probably our second to last tool, but our young athletes are our best tool to ensure that you won't support states that have unfair laws towards blacks and poor, and until you change those laws, you won't get our athletes. This is our last chance, and we have to use it fast, because you can already see the enemy preemptively, proactively organizing to stop progression. They want to stop it in its tracks. You see it in there in Missouri, so we have to be a step quicker and say, oh, no, you think before you can even get to stripping scholarships, we'll boycott you at the high school level. So you don't even send Nick Saban down here. Don't even send whoever the coach is at Auburn, or whoever the coach is in Mississippi, or whoever the coach is at Georgia and Florida. Don't even send them down here. We won't go to those schools until serious change is made in the treatment of African Americans and the poor in your state. And that way, everyone can come out a winner. If the race allows for both competitors to be winners, there's no moral reason for that scenario not to be fulfilled. So please get on board. I hope this gets to a parent who has a young athlete so they'll understand. And this won't fly overnight, but you just set it up. Foundation, the frame, the roof, build a house of justice, a house of progression, and with Jesus Christ watching over it, it shall stand against the wicked and unrepentant actions of the enemy. I guarantee you. So that's how you have to respond. A nonviolent approach, an intellectual approach, and most importantly, a spiritual approach. Because if God's not next to you, boy, are you in trouble. And guess what? When He is next to you, everything will be all right. Fight your enemy on your enemy will look like Andre the Giant. If you let Jesus Christ fight your battles and let Him stand next to you, your enemy will look like a cockroach. You'll have no choice but to bless him though he curse you, or give him water when he thirsts, or give him food when he's hungry, because you'll feel sorry for him. That's the beauty of turning it over to Jesus and letting him handle it. Thank you and God bless, and I will be back with that list of states that have the fewest instances of police violence towards its citizens to start giving you an understanding of what type of schools parents should let their young athletes, high star recruits go to attend as we build off the ground and do what we can to implement change, justice, and progression amongst the African Americans. Thank you. I appreciate your open-mindedness, and I pray for you all in the name of Jesus Christ, the Heavenly Father, and the Holy Spirit.